Welcome to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where today's top influencers and entrepreneurs on the rise share empowering stories and ninja tips to become the fuel that ignites a positive change in your life. Our guests don't simply coast through life. They don't let difficult situations stop them. They set big goals, keep their eyes on the prize, and they're joining us today to share insider secrets you can use right now to step into your power and live your purpose. Now, here's your host, Christy Ruffino.
Well, hello and welcome to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast. This is Christy Ruffino, the host of the show, and I have the pleasure of having Rob Fortier on the show today. Hi, Rob. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much, Christy. It's so great to be here. I'm super excited to talk with you today.
Yeah, I am too. We're going to have so much fun. So I want to let everybody know a little bit about Rob. I met you, I don't even know how many years ago. I think it was 2013, 2014, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
It's been a while. And we met each other in a coaching program. And we saw each other a lot for a couple of years. And then all of a sudden, we both vanished from each other's lives, right?
Yes.
And then you resurfaced, I resurfaced, what about 6 months ago in another community. And I just love what you're creating.
Thank you. And you have so much stuff going on too. I'm sure that you'll mention at some point, but you have grown leaps and bounds from when we met so many years ago. And I'm so excited for you and the community you've created and the business that you've created. So, and having this podcast as an extension is just fantastic too, as well. So many great episodes. I listened to a whole bunch before this interview, and I was just so impressed with the variety of people you had and the great information on. So, so thank you for providing that to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, for me, this is the fun part of what I do, because not only does it allow me the perfect opportunity to meet new people, but it also allows me the opportunity to connect with people I know and allow them to share their wisdom, right, with our audience. And it serves everybody. So it's been great. But I want everybody that's listening right now to know a little bit more about Rob. I'm going to read a little bit about you have a very colorful career, a great history. So Rob Fortier has had many careers in a variety of fields, including theater, advertising, and the paper greeting card industry, like Hallmark, one of those type of things. That is probably you probably have great stories about that, because I know I've gone and looked at cards and I'm like, oh, that is such a cool design, or where do they come up with this stuff? I'm sure that has helped you in your current space, right?
Absolutely. Yes. I always tell people that I use everything I have ever learned in all those industries in what I do today. It's all a combination of things. So, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why our stories are so important, because that is what our history, our ups and downs, and our journey is what positions us to be in the perfect place for what we do now in our expert field. So as a content marketing coach and copywriter, Rob's goal is to use his creative skills to help coaches, consultants, and solopreneurs better understand how to develop and nurture relationships with their email subscribers, as well as harness the power of their email list by offering content that inspires, educates, and entertains. And entertaining, I think that's a key to this, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, who wants to read boring emails? No one.
No. And I've really, really tried lately to get a little bit more colorful with my email marketing. It's not easy because that's not in my nature, but I'm a work in progress. So,
and it's not in a lot of people's natures, because everybody wants to sort of do it right. You know, they have this vision of what it should be, like the perfect form. And really the best of it comes out when you really show who you are. That's what people are. It's like your podcast.
Yes.
You could get this information from lots of different sources, but you want to know more about the people behind what's happening and how they got to where they are. And that makes all the difference in the world, I think, in terms of keeping people entertained and interested in information.
Yeah, totally. So I know I've got a lot of great questions, and I know at the end, you're going to have a free gift that will give some more support and resources. So hang tight, make sure that you stay with us to the end. But before we go on break, I want people to know a little bit more about your story, because there are a lot of email marketing experts out there, a lot of content writers, but like your Hallmark career, or I shouldn't say Hallmark because I know you said it wasn't Hallmark, but like your greeting card career, you're doing this now because you have a big why and your story has led you to this space. So share a little bit about that journey, Rob.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, as you mentioned, I have done a lot of things. I came to New York, gosh, 25 years ago to pursue a career in musical theater. And after a couple of years, I decided I like having money and being able to eat and pay my rent.
Yeah, that's a good
So,
thing.
yeah. So I sort of got out of theater and into the advertising industry for a few years. And then I got back into theater on the business side of it. I worked in a box office for many, many years. And that was kind of neat because I got to be around creative people, around theater people. If you know any theater people, they are a breed of their own. They are lots of fun. Um, but I really miss doing creative things. So I had some ideas at the time to start my own greeting card line. I was sort of looking for stuff in the market that I couldn't find. So I was like, why don't I make it myself? How hard can this be? Well, I found out how hard it could be, but so I did have moderate success in it, and I did a lot of trade shows, and I had sales reps that worked for me across the country. I never made my $1 million, but it kept me going for a number of years. But during that time, I had one of my sales reps. We wrote a couple of books to help people in the industry, work with reps or do trade shows. And I started seeing this need for people who were really good at what they did, but terrible at running a business. They thought, oh, I just have to make my stuff and put it in the world and everybody will buy it. And as you know, it takes a lot more than that to market and grow a business. So I actually started getting into coaching. People were coming to me and asking questions. How did you do this? How do you do that? And I decided, I really liked helping people with that side of with the business side. So I went back and got a coaching certificate and started, teaching, coaching. I had some speaking gigs that came up from it. And it really sort of grew into to business coaching. And then I decided to take it one step further with that, is that people who were good at their thing and they started marketing, they still didn't really know how to talk about what they did. And I started going to networking events in New York City and seeing person after person who would get up in a room full of people and say a bunch of words that sounded like spaghetti. It's like, I don't know what you just said because you used a lot of jargon. You said a bunch of things that only mean things to people in your industry or are familiar with what you do. So that was sort of led me to focus more on the copywriting and actually into email marketing, because you've got to be able to explain what you do. You've got to make people understand that what you have is something that would be useful for them. You know why it's awesome, but they have no idea until you can show them that. You can't make that assumption that they're going to make that leap from, oh, Rob has this great thing, I should buy it because Rob has it. It's like they have to want it, and you kind of have to have the words to show them that it's something that they need and want. So and like I said, I use all the skills from having been a performer, doing improv, in the greeting card industry, doing creative stuff, because that's what emails, you can send out the boring, like, hey, here's my thing, buy it. Or you can bring in your story. I know you're big about, the story is so important. You can bring in your experience. You can show all kinds of things about your business, your success and your failures. And that's what makes people attracted to you and want to work with you.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. And I love when you said about people just show up, and whether it's in person or online or on their website, it's like they're throwing spaghetti at the wall. They have all these words, and though it makes sense to them, because of course they're thinking about the process, they're not necessarily focused on providing the words that will guarantee the comfort level in the audience that they can provide the results that that person is looking for.
Exactly. And one thing that a lot of folks get, especially coaches, get trapped into is talking about, the features versus like the benefits of something.
Yes.
Features are the actual thing. And we like to say, great, I built this amazing course and it comes with 10 video modules and all these workbooks and blah, blah, blah. And we don't tell them what the result is. And that's the benefit. Like, what result am I going to get from this? That's what people buy. They buy results. Nobody cares about your 10-hour modules in your workbook if it doesn't get them to the place that they want to be or solve a problem for them.
Yeah. I think it was the program that we were in that I learned this particular statement. And at first, when I heard it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of sleazy. But when I thought about it, it made sense. So sell them what they want, but then give them what they need.
Yes.
And we don't want to sell people, right? We want to serve them,
Mhm.
but they're looking for, like you said, the benefit. And we talk about the process or the features. And really, it's like when we go to the doctor, we don't go to the doctor because we want medicine. We go to the doctor because we want to feel better. And if all the doctor
Exactly.
talks about is all these, the logistics of the process of getting better through this pill or that pill, we don't need to know that. We just know that we don't want to have a fever anymore, or whatever the result we're looking for.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. That's so important. And to your point about we're not trying to really sell them, we're trying to present the options of if you have this problem, here is a solution for you. This could be a choice for you. And they make the decision in the end. There's no amount of arm twisting. You know, people think sales is like, oh, I gotta convince people and force them to buy this, blah, blah. It's really about presenting people the offer at the right time when they need it. And that's
Yes.
why staying on people's email lists, which I'm sure we'll talk about, and following up and showing up repeatedly is important because somebody may see you now and be like, you know what, I really want to work with Christy, but now is not the right time. And if
Yep.
they never hear from you again, then you've lost a potential customer.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is really good because what I like about your experience is that your business coaching it really gave you all that and your other things in your past has given you that really strong foundation. So all of these things that are so important in a good email marketing strategy, right? And the result of that strategy is conversions.
Yes.
And if you I've been growing my email list for 20 years, right? And
Mhm.
my initial strategy with email marketing was only uh, sending something when I had an event, or this is my event, we're doing this, we're doing, like, just basically sharing opportunities. But I wasn't using my list to create, like, build a relationship or to nurture or to do anything else like that. And uh, they're just going to opt out if I'm not doing something that will provide value.
Mhm.
So
Eh,
that's where you come in, right?
Yeah.
What really matters and what to do.
And that's something that a lot of folks do. They are told to start an email list and they start building and then they just send offers and whatnot. And you are providing value when you send offers. You're giving your list something that could help them solve a problem that maybe isn't your solution. Maybe it's your class, or maybe you're promoting for somebody else. You know, we have a lot of friends in our world that we promote other people's stuff, JV partners. But so that is value. But in between, you've really got to help them solve those other problems that maybe it's not something they can buy, and just say, hey, I had this experience this week in my business and here's how I solved it. Or, ask them, what are people struggling with? What do you need help with? And then find resources for those people.
Yep.
So it really is, you want to be looked at as the person to go to when you need help, not the person to just go to when you need to buy something.
Right, right. And using that email strategy to also get your people to know you a little bit better.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And that's,
Exactly. Because it
yeah.
differentiates you. There's plenty of people that do what I do, and some people will not resonate with me. I'm too casual, or I'm too, I like to make jokes and have a good time. And some people want the serious side of that. And that's, so I'm not for everybody, nor do I intend to be. So
Right. Yeah. It's good to be polarizing, right?
yes.
In the business space.
Yeah.
Because that way we attract the people that really resonate with us, and it's okay to repel the people that don't connect with us and let them find their people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And that, you saying that, rolls into the people get nervous about having people unsubscribe from their email
oh,
list. It's like, oh, I can't send this out because I might lose people. Let them go.
I,
Like you
I,
just said, be polarizing.
I
Yeah.
honestly like being able to clean my list with when people unsubscribe, because that means I feel like I'm not bothering them anymore. Right. If they're not
Exactly.
resonating with me, good. Please, I will be happy to do it for you, because I want the people on my list that love what I send and will send me emails back and say, oh, this is great. Thank you. Like, that is, if I have 100 people on my email list, that are completely engaged and love what I'm sending out, I am more happy than having 5,000 people that are just ghosting me, right? They're
Yeah.
just not even looking.
Yeah. I mean, it's an ebb and flow. I tell people, we're not collecting thimbles or spoons or marbles. We're going to see how many we can get. It's a continuous list of adding people, and people unsubscribe, and people come in when they need to. They come out when they need to. They might come back. And so think of it like the ocean. Like it comes up, the tide comes up,
Yes, I
it
love
rolls back,
that.
it moves a little bit farther, and then comes back. And then you're going to get the low tides. It's going to go back a little bit farther. It's kind of like that. So just think of it as a living, breathing creature that you need to let grow and expand and then sometimes contract.
I love the mindset on that, the ebbing and flowing like an ocean. I can see my email list like an ocean tide. So, all right. Well, that is really good. So hang tight. We're going to take a break because I've got so many questions for you about good strategies. And I know you've got so many great tips, ninja tips, we call them, that you want to share. But we're going to take a quick break. So can you hang tight a minute, Rob?
Sure can.
Awesome. All right. Hold on. We'll be right back, everybody. Today's episode is brought to you by the Overcoming Mediocrity Project. Are you ready to share your story in a life-changing book with other success-driven women? Then, what if you could use that book to get speaking gigs, podcast interviews, and possibly a new client or two? Wouldn't that be great? Well, watch out, chicken soup. Here comes Overcoming Mediocrity. Our proven system can transform your struggle story into a powerful signature message and then as one chapter in an Amazon best-selling book. Our process is simple and economical, and it will bring a lot of eyeballs on you, your business, and your big message to the world. We welcome you to apply to join our project. Just visit us at overcomingmediocrity.org and click on the apply button at the top of the page. We'll see you soon. Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast. Christy and Rob here, and we're going to dive right into email marketing strategies. And I actually have a question that I want to start this segment with, because there are so many trains of thought about the frequency on how we should send out emails. And for me, I have some people that I love. They send an email out every day, or at least, 3 times a week. And I love reading them because they're funny or they're creative. And I don't know if it's just me because I'm looking at it from also a learning perspective, but I'm thoroughly entertained by their email sequence, where I have other people that I can't wait to opt out, which we just talked about that in a moment. But as a business owner, how do we know the frequency of our email strategies?
Well, I will tell you that I wish I knew what the magic formula is, but I don't think there really is one. And here's what I tell most people. The most important thing you can do if you have an email list is show up consistently. And you need to set the pace as the business owner, where you are in your business. If you're just starting out, if you're more seasoned, if it's just you have a staff. But consistently means once a week, every day, couple times a month. What it doesn't mean is once every 6 months or only when you have something to sell. So I tell people it's better that you show up every 2 weeks with a good email that you've spent a little bit of time on and it makes sense, than to try to do too much and overwhelm yourself, or then get frustrated and then not show up at all. And that's what happens to a lot of people too. They put it to the bottom of their list of things to do, and then they just never send anything out, or they send out a holiday letter. And I get those from people, and I'm like, who is this person? I don't even remember signing up for this. And that is the fastest way to get people to subscribe from your list, is to show up infrequently. So I don't think there's a magic bullet, but I do know people who send them every day. And like you said, you want to read them. They're engaging. They're funny. And if that's you, then try it out, because your list is going to tell you pretty quickly whether they want that or not. And maybe that's what you start curating, if that's what kind of business you want to have. So you also have to just test it out and see, what does your list respond to? Like they say, like when you do subject lines, you can test different subject lines or those kinds of things. You can have the best idea in the world and you think it's amazing, and then you send it out and you're like, wow, nobody opened that, or nobody responded to that. So you have to test and try this stuff out too, and see what your list wants.
Yeah. Okay. So let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Email marketing, like for me, I do have a couple people I like, but email to me is noise. I don't like going into my email because every time I go in there, I've got like hundreds of them. And so the fact that I have resistance to email makes me not want to send them out, but I know we have to. So tell me why it is important for us as a business owner to kind of keep email at least a piece of our strategy, because the social media strategies, there's all things that we can do, but that is all stuff that we don't own.
Exactly.
And it can go away at any moment.
Yes. And it did. What was it last week?
Yeah.
Instagram and Facebook were down for like 5 hours and everybody had a frothy panic about what to do.
I had a friend did this like huge launch, and she was in the middle of it, and like everything went down and she freaked out. Thank goodness they have a huge email list, so they were able to continue with their launch. But without that email list, she would have been sunk.
Yeah. I mean, so that is right there. A big point of it is that you do not own the social media followers. They can change those algorithms at any time. And then people stop seeing your stuff. So that's a huge part of it, is to get them off of social media and onto your list. Because what happens is, even if, let's say, you get a whole bunch of emails every day, that email goes into your inbox. And then you've got to make a choice. You can ignore it, you can delete it, you can read it, but you have to take some action. And if it's in your inbox, if I send it at 8 a.m, you don't have to read it at 8 a.m. You could read it 12 hours later if it's still sitting there. But with social media, if you on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and something scrolled by, or you got on an hour after I posted something, you might not see it. So you're kind of playing like this roulette game with who sees your content. Whereas it goes to your inbox, you can talk directly to people and they can choose to read it or not. And they don't read every email. Some people do. I'm sure I have very few people that read every single one of my emails, because I send a couple every week, 2 or 3. But that's the biggest thing, is that you have more control over it. And it gives you a chance to do a lot more with your personality than you can in just like a picture on Instagram or something. So it doesn't guarantee, but something like email, we think email is dead because we have all these other cool tools, but it still has a really high return on investment for the amount of money and time you spend doing those, as opposed to like running Facebook ads. I mean, you want to learn how to waste money on Facebook? Give me a call. I will tell you in a hot second, because it will just, you can drain $300 in a minute. And it's like, I got 2 leads from this. That was not worth my time.
Right.
So I think that's one of the things about email, is that you can own the list, you can talk to people directly, and people still read it. If people didn't read email, we would stop using it. But
correct,
we are still reading it. So keep using it.
And so one of the tips that I find that is helpful as a consumer is creating rules, right? And if either I opt out, or I will take that person's email and put it in a certain folder, so I'm not having it be on my to-do list, but I can go and look at it when I want to.
Yeah, exactly. Because hopefully those kinds of emails, they're being a resource for you. They have valuable information that you want to keep and consume and refer to and take action on. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So we know that as a business owner, we want to have some sort of a high converting lead magnet, they call it, or opt-in opportunity on our website. And we're not going to get into what is a good lead magnet or not, but once we get that person on our list, what's next? Because I find that is one of the areas I struggle is, okay, I get them on my list, I send a thank you, and I send that great opportunity, whatever I've created that they've signed up to get, but then they kind of sit there. I shouldn't tell you that, but that is the truth.
We can talk more about that later if you want. So one of the things that people should have too is some kind of welcome sequence. After you get the free thing, you want to spend some time getting to know people and having them get to know you. So one of the things I do in like the first or second email is, I ask people to make sure that they whitelist my email address, or, so that it gets delivered. I also ask them to respond. I ask some kind of question, like, why did you sign up to get this free thing that I offered? Because what that does is it sends a signal to the email service providers that that, hey, this person wants to get these emails. So it's going to hopefully reduce the amount of times that you end up in their junk or spam folders.
So you're asking them a question, so they have to reply.
They have to reply. So, so clicking on, and the other thing is they're going to click on stuff because they're going to download the lead magnet, but you want them to reply too. So clicking and replying are two great things you want to try to get them to do. And just say, hey, why did you want this? What was the reason you needed this, whatever information you're giving away.
So, all right, let's hold on a little bit. I know you got the next step, but this is really juicy. Okay. So I've heard that your future deliverability or open rate or not going into spam, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure there's a better word. It's greatly increased by that activity on that very first email. So they've got to open it. They've got to click. And they have to reply. I didn't know about the reply piece. So asking a question is good, but is there some other strategy that would be more compelling than just a question? Because I probably wouldn't answer a question.
That's what I use in mine, but that's a really good question to ask about questions. And I would say it depends on what your business is. I would say, during a sequence, like you're going to give them other chances to reply and click on things. But during that first one, it kind of depends on what you do. I mean, a question naturally, you're like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. So it could be something where, again, you want clicks. So it could be they go to watch a video or opt into something else, but really anything that you think is going to spark your audience to write back to you, but I know that you say you won't answer a question, but a lot of people do. It's kind of like the top thing to use. But again, it depends on what your business. Somebody may be like, listen to this and be like, oh no, I have a better idea. But that is sort of my top recommendation.
What about like a second free gift? Oh, I also have this reply and I'll send it to you.
You could do that as well. I usually tell people to do that within their welcome sequence to give another free gift, because then what you're doing is you're getting more clicks along the way. But you could certainly do that in the first email too. Say, hey, did you get this? I got another piece that goes with this. Reply to me and I'll give it to you as well. Yeah.
And then you can just have a standard signature created with your email tool. That's just, you could just choose that. You don't have to write a brand new email every time. You just reply back and say, here, use this signature, and that signature has that free gift in it or whatever.
Exactly. You've got it all set up and ready to go. I mean, the only thing about that is you have to do it manually. But you'd have to manually answer if they write back to you. You have to manually answer that too. And you're not going to get like hundreds of people who write back. You're going to get a handful of people. Every time I do some kind of event where I get opt-ins, I maybe get a handful of people who write back to me. So it's a strategy to use. You're trying to get people to that, but you're not going to have 100 people out of 100 write back to you. You're going to get 2 or 3 out of 100.
Well, you know what? We have to do all these little things. And if we do it once, it's there.
Right.
And another thing that I saw that I copied is on that thank you page, I have an additional button that says, to ensure you get our future emails, double opt-in here. So I've created a double opt-in page that's like another layer, because then when they double opt in, hopefully they'll get future email. I mean, honestly, the bottom line is deliverability. And we know that there's no answer for improving that success rate. But the more things we can do to increase those chances of our emails not going into spam. It's funny because like we have our emails and my own emails go into my own spam.
Mine do too sometimes.
It's crazy. And I've been on the same list for 9 years since I've had this current email system, and I did everything, and all of a sudden now they're going into spam. It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, there is stuff there. You have to accept that there is a level of this that is beyond our control. I mean, I have one person that I follow. I open his emails. I've been to some of his classes, and all of his emails still go into my junk folder, and I cannot fix it to save my life. But so I just know that when there's a junk email, it's probably from him that's in there. So So you're right, we can't guarantee anything, but it's best practices. And like you said, double opting is great. I use a double opt-in list as well. It cuts down the number of tire kickers I get, people who just try to give
Yeah.
me a crappy email address and get my free thing. So
Yeah.
it makes it's for a cleaner, happier list in the end to do those kinds of
I
things.
know.
But definitely having some kind of sequence where you introduce yourself, along the way, like, and you give some helpful tips, you give some other resources, like, something great to be in, like your welcome sequence would be to be, okay, you've now got my free thing. Hey, did you know that I also have this podcast where here's what we do? So if you want to check it out, here's a great resource for you. So you want to offer them as not just things to do, but as a resource, and here's why you would want that. And then, at the end of a sequence, you can also make some kind of offer of, hey, you know what, do you want to take this a step further? Let's jump on a call and see how I can help you. So you're giving them, opting in to giving them a little bit of a journey of getting to know you. Like one of the things I do is I tell people weird facts about myself. Like, I like baking and I've lived in New York 25 years and I've never owned a car. And I get people who respond and they're like, I love this. Here's some stuff about me. And,
Wow.
and so it creates engagement, because that's, even if you don't get the magic response in the first email, you're trying to get people to know that you're not just this robot sending them stuff. You are a person and they are people, and you were aware of that. You want to show that you want to interact with them. So again, even if you only get a handful of responses every time, you're creating the opportunity for people to engage, and they're seeing that you're open to that, even if they don't take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah. So, gosh, yesterday I was at an event, and the question that she said, and I don't have it with me, what is the least exciting thing, okay, if you say, what is the most exciting thing that happened to you today, and create um a subject, like email around that, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes our brain doesn't connect the dots because maybe we didn't do anything super exciting. But if we ask ourselves, like, to try to come up with ideas for email copy, if we ask ourselves, what is the least boring thing that happened to me today? That will trigger our brain to think about something crazy, like, or something different. And that could possibly be a good thing, a topic to talk about in an email, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love that question. I mean, you can take there's lessons and life lessons and business lessons in everything. You can take
Yes.
trip to the grocery stores and something happens there and turn it into a learning event for your email. I did a series of videos years ago where I turned stuff I learned at the gym into business lessons, because it's the same kind of thing. You're working at something continuously, you're learning new stuff every day, you're facing challenges, you're figuring out how to overcome them. So, don't discount things in your life just because you think they're not that huge. Sometimes just a little piece can go a really long way and make a difference for somebody reading it. Everything does not have to be earth-shattering to
Right.
be impactful. Yeah.
It's just a matter of us starting to think that way, right? Like when I
Yeah.
learned Spanish, it took me a while to think in Spanish. And so now we're almost learning email marketing language. And once we start thinking that way, and like when I read somebody's email that's captivating and, they're talking about donuts, and I'm like, well, that's kind of silly, but it drew me in. Well, how can I capture that same type of a feeling for somebody that will draw them in as well? And maybe I'll talk about, I don't know, my daughter's Rice Krispie squares. I don't know, but we
You're
can
right.
create a lesson in anything, I think, right?
I think so. And that's what keeps it interesting and engaging.
Yeah.
I got an email a couple months ago and the subject line was lessons I learned in the Starbucks bathroom. And I was like, okay,
Oh,
I
I
have
love that.
got to open this email because I'm dying to know what's inside. But it was intriguing. And of course there was a lesson. I won't get into the whole email, but it was just an ordinary experience that you turned into, oh, I learned something, on this, and here's how this could apply to something I'm struggling with my business
Oh
too,
my
as well. So,
gosh. I can't
yeah.
imagine. I can't imagine what you could learn in a men's bathroom at Starbucks. Oh boy. Yeah. So what is the least boring thing that has happened to you today? And create at least a story around it, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it, and this stuff, as you know, takes practice. It's not like you just suddenly start trying to write emails this way and you get perfect at it. And that's an obstacle a lot of people face. You know, we're not writing for the New York Times here, people. We're not writing the best-selling novel. We're writing emails. So the only way to get better at them is to practice and to do them. And some of them are going to be great, and some of them are going to be like, yeah, I don't know. But if you never send them, you will never get better at them. That is I can tell you that. It's just like going to the gym. You will never get fitter if you never exercise.
What you have in here, a good quote is, done is better than perfect.
Yes, done is way better than perfect. And again, I you know, I've met a lot of people. I'm teaching a lot of workshops lately where people were like, yeah, they're like, well, you know, I struggle with grammar or this, that other thing. You know, there's lots of tools like Grammarly, and even just using Microsoft Word and spell check and or Google Docs. But we're like, again, we're not writing essays, we're writing casual emails. So don't get hung up on that.
So one of the people I follow, he had a whole email about how he is a terrible speller, you know, because he has all these mistakes in his emails. And at first I thought, well, does he know that? Or maybe he's doing it on purpose because it was part of that sequence about being a terrible speller. So it's funny how we basically just have to learn how to connect the dots and be entertaining.
Yeah. And be yourself.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You bring a whole set of rich experiences and lessons to the table, whatever business you're in, no matter what. And so show nobody wants to hire the perfect, you know, crafted whatever. They want to hire somebody that they can identify with. Yeah. And if that's I'm the terrible speller, or if that's the, you know, I sleep till noon person every day, or if that's like I always tell jokes on my emails, like that's what people want, and that's what makes you different and stand out.
All right, well, I know you have a free gift, but I have one last question, and this is
absolutely
personal because, all right, I have our podcast, right? We drop them every Wednesday, but we send an email out Thursday. So Thursdays are my podcast announcements. And then I try to do just one email every week that's like personal, like story, something that, you know, lesson, whatever. But then now I have been getting more engaged in affiliate marketing, and this is how we met each other. And I'm struggling with the frequency, and I unfortunately signed up to say, yes, I'll help you. Yes, I'll help you. And I have all these people that I'm helping right now because now I've got the mechanism to do it. But now I'm realizing, ooh, that's a lot of emails. And my email list is going to probably be like, oh, this is too much. So how, like, I know having a schedule is important, and Thursdays are my podcast and this is mine. And maybe, do you think two, like, I don't know. Like, I know there's no formula.
Yeah. I mean, there are, it really, again, it just depends, but it has to be what you're comfortable with and what your audience is comfortable with. But, you know, don't identify that they're getting too many emails until you start seeing a lot of people drop out. Like, you might think that right now, and a lot of people think that, but, you know, I have one coach that I'm friends with. She says the more she emails in a week, the better her responses get.
And I've heard that. I've heard that too.
So don't create the story that your list is going to suddenly drop out. But what you do need to do is give it some order. You know what I mean? Like if you're like sort of like promoting somebody, maybe that's something you do like several, like
on Wednesday,
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or you do a couple days in a row or a couple every other days, and then move on to the next person you're promoting. So you're not getting an email about this person and then somebody else, and then we're back to this offer. You're giving people a chance in a couple of days to see the same, you know, see information about the same thing you have going on. But I love the regular thing about doing, you know, one of the templates I teach is called a lead me template. And you've got a podcast, which is perfect for that, which you do a little bit of teaching in the email and then say, to get the rest of the story, go to my podcast here. So you're giving value and you're getting people to click through and go to that. So it's giving it some structure too. And sometimes if you're promoting multiple people, you can combine some of those things. Like I don't do it every week, but I do a Friday freebie community email. And sometimes it's promoting one person's masterclass or one person's webinar they have coming up. Sometimes it's promoting multiple people. So it is, Chrissy's got this great masterclass.
That could be good, is putting them in one email.
Yeah, you do short paragraphs, like everybody gets 2 or 3 sentences, you bullet point. And actually that's another template I teach, is it's a resource. You're basically creating a resource email for people. And sometimes you can do that if you have books you want people to read or podcasts, or again, you can do it as a promotional tool to help out other resources of classes or courses or events that are coming up too as well. So yeah, so give it some structure, give it some, if you're promoting multiple people, try to keep them focused in different areas of the week. But again, don't decide that you sent too many emails until your list starts revolting. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, I'm trying to avoid that. And so
yes.
that was my like little selfish question, because I'm still trying to figure out my structure, but that is really good, because I don't want to beat myself up until I know I have to. But that was a perfect question that will lead us right into your free gift, because I know you've got these amazing templates that will help anybody that's listening right now kind of like glean your wisdom. So share a little bit about what that is. And I know you don't have to give the link, because that will be in the show notes. And if somebody's listening, they can go check out the show notes, and you can feel free to say what it is, but you don't need to spell it out.
Gotcha.
Yeah. What is it?
So I call them my create fast, nurture email templates. And there are 5 templates for creating basically value emails or engagement emails with your list, even if you're not really great at writing. So we actually talked about 2 of the templates. There's a resource template in there. There's kind of like this thing called the lead me template, which gets someone to go listen to your podcast or read a blog post. But there's other stuff in there that's actually, some of it's really short. It's, creating one little, like inspirational quote. Maybe you use something in Canva, you make a little graphic, or maybe you use somebody else's quote, and then doing a little 2 or 3 sentences around that. Like, why is this important? Why do people need to learn this? Or how does it resonate? And get people to interact, ask a question. So it's got different types of templates that go from really easy to more advanced ones where you're teaching maybe like 5 bullet points in an email. And I'm a big believer in the short email. My emails run between 300 and 500 words, unless I'm really got something big going on, because people look at this stuff, they're looking at on their phones or tablets, or not. So they need like clear structure, bullet points. They need to look clean and not be like overwhelmed when they open this big thing. So the templates will really give you a structure to sort of create emails without having to say, okay, how do I format this? Or I've got this story, or I've got these points, and I have no idea how to structure. So the templates will help you take the sort of worry out of doing that and be able to create consistently and show up consistently. If you leave with nothing else from today, please, please, please find a way to show up consistently for your list.
Yeah. Rob, you need to have an email accountability group, right?
I love that idea.
So I can go in there on Tuesday and say, okay, I did my email for the week. Because we don't have an email boss telling us, we have to be consistent. And so that would be helpful. So
yeah.
Anyways, all right. Well, this is so good. I love this. I can't wait to download this. The link will be in the show notes below, and it will take you right to our gift vault. And so we will keep that in there for not only the guests that listen to this episode, but all of the other guests that join the show, and head over to our vault. We've got a lot of great resources in there, including this amazing template.
Awesome.
5 template resource from you. So Rob, thank you so much. I really had fun. I think this went really long, but there was so much juicy stuff. I kind of just wanted to keep asking more and more questions.
Well, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun, and I'll come back anytime. So if you want to do part 2 someday, just let me know. We'll come back and do it again.
Oh, that's a deal. So if you listened to this and learned anything, please share it with people you know in the business world, because we learn better and we retain information longer by sharing or teaching with other people. And of course, if you loved our podcast, please share it with people you know. The more subscribers we get, the more people we can serve, and the better chances we have of keep getting amazing guests like Rob onto our show. So thanks everybody for joining us. And of course, thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where we believe that everyone can have the business and life of their dreams once they've learned the art of mastering their story. Mastering our stories is the key to everything we want in life. Our stories can either hold us back or they can propel us to new heights. We can choose. You can choose. Choose to overcome mediocrity with us. Let's achieve greatness together. To learn more, visit www.overcomingmediocrity.org. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast.